bring one of my business partners.
To watch it, right?
Yeah, but next meeting, I'm going to bring one of them live, if that's okay.
I think you should. You can add plus ones, no problem at all. I think that's a great thing to do. Okay, so here I am today with Brad Cartier. We're looking at a property in Rockland. We're inventing stuff as we go, right, Brad?
Absolutely.
All right. So what we did was we talked about the Gigaplex, which Brad has really taken on as his own. We have the Gigaplex triplex, we have the Gigaplex Duo, we have the Gigaplex Mini. The Gigaplex triplex is just what it sounds like. It's got ground floor, second floor, and third floor, so it's got 3 units in it. And it has a walkout or a manufactured walkout condition for the basement, which could be a home-based business. The Gigaplex Duo is only 2 floors, so it's got a 2-bedroom apartment on the ground floor, 2-bedroom on the second floor, and the basement, again, could be a home-based business, an office. The Gigaplex Mini is just what it sounds like. It's just got the 1-story building with the basement being a home office. What I like about this lot in Rockland, excuse me, is the fact that it's 66 feet wide, very deep, 141 feet deep, and it slopes, as you can kind of see on this picture that we have here. It kind of slopes downward. So instead of having to manufacture a walkout, which does cost some money, and you have to pay close attention to stormwater management because otherwise your basement will fill up with water. This is a very, very simple way to make that home-based business, that home office in the basement, much more, first of all, economically feasible, and second of all, it will have a natural walkout condition because of the slope of the land. So that's a very positive thing. The other thing I like about this lot, Brad, is that it's really deep, 141 square feet. A typical urban lot would be 90 feet or maybe 100 feet deep. This is 141. So the backyard could have a workshop.
Makerspace.
A makerspace. So in theory, and Brad's going to do some work with Chris Jalcozy, an architectural technologist that I'm going to introduce him to by email. It could, in theory, have a highest and best use for this vacant lot, which is a 2-bedroom apartment here, 2-bedroom apartment there, a home-based business in the lower level with a walkout, and you walk out into the backyard, and there is a fabulous workshop. Workshops are fairly inexpensive to build. You don't have to air condition them. You do have to insulate them. You have to add water, of course. You want to have a bathroom there. But it means, Brad, that you could, in theory, have, a tremendous, return. I don't know what the cap rate's going to be, but it's going to be pretty good.
Well, I guess it depends on if we're buying the lot by itself or with the duplex as well.
Yeah, I think the duplex would be fantastic. So the seller is thinking about selling the duplex?
The seller has said that he's open to selling both as a package. He gave us, when we first went to him, he gave us the price for the lot. He wanted $150,000.
Okay.
I think that for Rockland, that is high.
Yeah, it is.
So I asked him if he'd be interested in selling the duplex along with the other lot. He said he'd be interested. And then obviously the next question was, how much do you want for the package and what are you getting for rents? He is going to get back to me today or tomorrow on the price. The rents, unfortunately, are very low. So there's 2-bedroom apartments in there. It's actually quite nice inside for a rental in this area. It's only about 12 years old, so it's not too run down, but he's only getting $900 a month in rent for each 2-bedroom.
That's ridiculous. I have a client, I showed you a client, Ken and Natalie, they have a micro suite that they get like almost $1,200 for.
Yeah, but so tell me your thoughts on that, because that creates a financing problem because we can't kick tenants out. I mean, I know I could get $1,500 a month for those, but it may make the financing not feasible.
Well, it depends. You see, the way I look at it is you squeeze the balloon this way, it pops out that way. Squeeze the balloon this way, it gets that way. That's just a fancy way of saying, if the rents are really low, the price should be lower, right? So do you know how to figure out the price you should pay?
Using like NOI and
So let's
yes.
do it now. I'm going to make you do a little homework. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
All right, we're going to do it together. So
Okay.
let's assume that he's getting $1,800 a month from the duplex in rent.
Okay.
Okay, multiply that by 12. What do you get?
21,600.
Okay, and multiply that by 0.66.
14,256.
Okay, so a very rough estimate of what his net operating income is on the duplex is $14,256.
A
Right?
year.
Because you remember 34% of all the money we collect in residential rents kind of goes out the window for property taxes, insurance, vacancies, repairs, maintenance, property management. Did I already say insurance? So he's got $14,256 in net operating income. And by the way, not a word or a number that you get from the realtor or from the owner you can rely on. They all lie. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, you got to remember, I do hundreds and hundreds of these things all across North America. And every friggin' owner and every friggin' realtor, they say, oh, yeah, no, the net operating income is, you know, is 30 grand. And then you check it out and it's 14,256. So let's use our number. So divide, you remember, you do not buy a property with a cap rate less than 6%. Right?
Right.
Going in cap rate should be 6%. So divide 14,250 by 0.06.
237,600.
So he is going to come back to you probably and say, I want 450,000 for this building. Right?
Plus
And
the lot.
I beg your pardon?
We're going to get a package price. So lot plus duplex.
No, I understand that, but we're gonna work through the whole thing because I got to make sure listen. I know you're a sophisticated investor, but part of my job is to make sure that you don't make a mistake on my watch. All right,
Okay.
because if you overpay in real estate, you end up you make money in real estate when you buy. So if you buy stupid, you're stuck. And I'm guilty of that. Trust me, I'm guilty. So I'm not saying that I'm smarter than anybody else. I've done it. So it's probably worth, because his rents are so crappy. But what did you say you could get for them? 1,500 a month each?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want you to do now is, assuming that you had vacant possession on this thing, all right? What we do is, he's getting 1,800 a month. So take 237,600, multiply it by 3, and divide it by 1.8. What do you get?
Divide it by 1.8.
So you take $237,600, which is what we think the fair market value is with these crappy rents he's getting.
Yep.
But you think you could get 3,000, well, he's getting 1,800. So if you multiply by 3 and divide by 1.8, that'll give you another price.
396.
There you go. So if he had rented this thing properly, it would be worth 400,000. If he said, look, I've got great tenants in there, they're paying $1,500 a month each, I want 400,000, you say, where do I sign?
Right.
Now, the way for you to mitigate this is either you get a lower price or you get vacant possession.
How would he do vacant possession if there's tenants in there?
Well, I suppose, do you have a brother? Your brother could move in.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's family, right? I have a problem with one of my tenants. It happened actually yesterday, and one of my boys is going to move into this townhouse, and we're going to get vacant possession. And that's just the way it is. I mean, you know, and my youngest son's in my basement right now. So whether he lives in my basement or he lives in one of our townhouses, don't matter to me none.
Have you ever done like pay for keys kind of thing?
Absolutely. We just did one last week. We have a triplex in Britannia. And this is a client of mine, not me. And one of his tenants was running a crack house. and a house of prostitution. And
Nice.
it
Every
was
landlord's dream.
yeah. And and he had eviction orders. I mean, she's got friends with pistols, and this is a criminal gang that's in his triplex. And of course, the other units are empty. No, they've had fires in there because I think they're cooking meth. So he could not get her out. And today, as you know, in the province of Ontario, Mr. Ford, our premier, has put a halt on all evictions. Doesn't matter what it is, you can't get her out. So he paid her last week. May 13th. So a week ago today, he paid her. May 12th. So 8 days ago, he paid her $18,000
to leave,
and she hadn't paid her rent in 7 months. So I mean, and his building. So when we went in there, he went in. I was not allowed to go because of the COVID thing, but I was able to go through it with Zoom. Oh my God, it's at least $50,000 in damage, and it might be more than that. I mean, when he pulled, they had sort of put some cheap, badly put on drywall. When he pulled it down, you could see all the trusses were burned, and they have to be. He has to go in there and replace them. I mean, holy smokes! So the whole thing is going to cost him $100,000, and to some extent it's his fault because he didn't really check her out properly. He has to take responsibility, but it's probably going to cost him $100,000. I mean, it's not funny, but it's just the worst, one of the worst circumstances I've seen. But he didn't know about the fires either until he went in there. And there were at least three separate fires. So what I'm saying to you is that house, if you can get vacant possession, is worth $400,000. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you could ask for vacant possession. Maybe he can pay for keys. I don't care. But if he says I can't possibly, there's no way I can give you vacant possession, then you just have to pay less.
Okay.
You have to have discipline. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want you to overpay. So.
And what about for the lot?
Okay, we're getting there. I
Okay.
haven't forgotten about the lot. Like I said many times, I'm an old professor. I do one thing at a time.
No, and because part of me is thinking like I would overpay for this duplex in a scenario where I'm going to get a lot more income from that Gigaplex Duo.
Exactly. And so you might say, okay, I'll pay you $400,000 for that, but I'm only going to give you $75,000 for the lot.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of ways to cut the cheesecake. All right. But
when I get those prices, you don't mind if I email you?
No, yes. I mean, what's the point of having a coach if you don't consult me and you end up buying something and you overpaid by $150,000? That's a lot of money. It takes a long time to make $150,000. If you had to save $150,000 with all the little kids you've got, that's tough. So we want to be careful, Brad. Okay.
I'm sorry. What are your thoughts on getting it all together as opposed?
I think that's a brilliant idea. I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. Okay. But I want you to talk to me before you actually sign anything.
Right. Absolutely.
So we can make sure that you're on the right track. Okay. So now let's do the lot, and we're going to assume for the moment that you buy the lot for $150,000. It's just an assumption. Okay. Hopefully you can get it for less, but let's say it's $150,000. And then we calculated, just before we started recording this session, we calculated that the Gigaplex Duo would cost about $270,000 for the 2 units. That's just construction cost. And then another $92,510 for the basement fit up. And that total $361,000. So you got your calculator there?
Yes.
You buy the lot for $150,000. You pay $361,630 for construction, and we're going to.
What about taxes?
Big pardon?
Do we factor in taxes at all, or?
We'll come to that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So $361,360. Then you're going to pay, probably in terms of development charges. I don't know what they are in Rockland, but there are some development charges there. So let's assume, because you have 2 units, the one in the basement should not have any development charges. Even though it is another unit in theory, it's a home-based business, it's a basement, it's not a separate unit, or at least for DCs. So let's assume that the development charges are $15,000 a door. In Ottawa, they're more, but let's assume they're 15 in Rockland, and they may be less. So let's assume $30,000 for DCs. Let's assume $15,000 for architect fees, and some engineering. And then let's add to that, I know I'm missing a bunch of stuff. Oh yeah, so we'll assume $15,000 in financing fees. It won't be that much, but you got to pay some interest and some fees to, because it's construction financing. It's expensive. It could be more. Let's make it 25,000 because could take you a year to build the thing. Shouldn't, but it might. So add that up: 150,000 plus 361, 630 plus 30,000 plus 50,000 plus 25,000. What do you get?
Hold on a sec here. I'm gonna put it in my calculator. Okay, 3 plus 30,000 plus 15 for architect plus 25
for financing. Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Hopefully, it won't be that much.
Sorry, I messed up. Hold on. $431,639.
No, it's got to be more than that because you got the 150,000 for the lot.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Plus 150. Okay. So we've got 581,639. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to assume it's just the worst case scenario that you're going to spend $700,000 on this building. I don't think it's going to be that much, but we're going to go to the worst case. Okay. So 700,000. We're going to say there's all kinds of screw ups because there's always mistakes. It's going to cost you 700,000. All right.
Okay.
All right. So the top floor 2-bedroom, you're going to get $1,500 for it, right?
Yes, in the duplex. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not going to talk about all the gigaplexing, the percentage rent thing. That's just your gravy, right? That we're just doing the worst case as opposed to the best case.
Okay.
Okay. And then you get $1,500 for the ground floor unit. And we're going to say $1,200 for the home-based business in the basement. All right. So you're getting $4,200 a month in rent for your Gigaplex Duo. You with me on that?
4,200. Yes.
Yeah. Multiply that by 12.
Okay. 4,200. Okay. 50,400.
Okay. Multiply that by 0.66.
33,264.
And divide that by 700,000.
Is 4.7%.
So your cap rate, at least in theory, is below the minimum of 6% that we set as a goal.
But this doesn't incorporate the duplex income.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't incorporate any of the gigaplexing.
So the duplex doesn't have a home-based business.
So the Gigaplex Duo has the second floor, which is a 2-bedroom apartment, the ground floor, which is a 2-bedroom apartment, and then the basement, which is the home-based business.
Right.
Which could be a third unit.
Right.
All right. So that gives you a 4.7% cap rate.
But we didn't. But there's a duplex next to the Gigaplex Duo.
The existing duplex.
Yeah.
But that we already calculated the cap rate on that is if you buy it for $237,600, you get a cap rate on that existing cap rate of 6%. If you leave the existing tenants in place.
Okay.
If you can replace them with tenants who will pay $1,500, your cap rate will be 6%. If you pay $396,000, so we don't want to mix apples and oranges. Okay, we have to treat them separately.
Okay.
So to get the 6% cap rate that we're looking for, what you have to now do is take the 33,264 net operating income and divide that by 0.06. What do you get?
33,264 divided by what, sorry?
By 0.06. So remember, our target is 6%. If we can get 6%, we're in good shape. So take the 33,264 and divide it by 0.06.
So that would be 554,000.
All right. So what this little sort of back of the envelope calculation tells us is that you cannot spend more than about $600,000 building your new building. And you cannot spend more than $237,000 buying that existing duplex to achieve a minimum going-in cap rate of 6%. So you have to, I said 700,000 if everything goes wrong, and if everything goes wrong, you'll end up at a 4.7% cap rate, which is not good enough. So basically, your budget, you now know your budget for the Gigaplex Duo is $600,000 plus or minus. Are you following me, Brad?
Yep.
So you've got $600,000 to spend. If you spend $150,000 on the lot, you've only got $450,000 to do everything else.
Right.
You see how powerful this analysis can be?
Yep.
And so it does give you and your partners, your investors, your mortgage broker, real discipline in terms of controlling costs. Because if costs run away on you, it really will impact on your ability to earn a decent return. And 6% is not, it doesn't make you Warren Buffett overnight. But 6% is the absolute minimum that you should have as a going-in cap rate. So if you could get this existing duplex for $400,000 with vacant possession so you could put proper leases in place, that would probably be a good thing to do. If he says, look, there's no way I can do that, you'll have to take the existing leases. Then you have to explain to him, look, that probably the most I can pay for it is $300,000. But I'll give you $100,000 for the lot next door. Because if you pay $100,000 for the lot next door instead of $150,000, it gives you about $500,000 to build your Gigaplex Duo, which is probably doable. I just was trying to avoid being overly optimistic.
Right.
So you've got $600,000, including the lot, to spend on the Gigaplex Duo, and you can spend $400,000 on the duplex if you can somehow finesse the existing tenants. Because at $900 in Rockland for a 2-bedroom, that is just. Why would he do something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. It just, and I run into that all the time. I don't know about you, Bruce, but like getting rents from small time landlords, it's mind boggling. So, they've been the same rents for 10 years and they haven't up.
Well, no wonder they want to sell.
Well, it wasn't listed for sale.
Yeah, that's true. But he is willing to sell.
He is willing to sell.
I really like the location. I really like the project. And by the way, having existing income, even if it's fairly small income from the duplex, if you buy this whole thing as a package, that really does help your internal rate of return, right? Because a professional investor does the stuff that we just did with the cap rates. That helps you have discipline, helps you establish, a bubble within which you can work, a framework within which you must try and deliver your project. But the internal rate of return is the way professional investors do look at their investments on a long-term basis. And having even small amount of income between the time you buy it and the time that the Gigaplex Duo is finished will help your internal rate of return. We didn't calculate that. That takes a little bit more time.
Okay.
Now, let's see if we can, goose the returns a little bit. So another thing that you could do on this is you could put a workshop in the backyard. And you know what the workshops look like, right?
Yes.
I think I've shown them to you. So say you put a 700 square foot workshop in the backyard, because you've got lots of depth. And that is going to cost you, because you insulate it, You heat it, you put a bathroom in it, you put a sink in there, a micro kitchen in there, you've got a little workshop. And you add a tech package too, because everybody loves those tech packages. So you're going to have a 700 square foot workshop, and you'll probably be able to do that for about $110,000. Okay. And you should be able to get rents of about, for a workshop, you should be able to get a rent of about another $1,400 a month. Okay. So if you got 1,400 times 12, what do you get?
16,800.
And multiplied by 0.66.
11,000.
Okay, and divide that by 110.
You get 100.
You get 10%.
Percent.
So I think your Gigaplex Duo you probably will be able to achieve the 6%. On the duplex, probably you won't get 6%. He'll probably beat you up. You might end up with 5. But on the workshop, you'll probably get 10. So at the end of the day, with a little bit of hard work on your part and a little bit of animation, you will have a wonderful project. And the good news about the Gigaplex Duo is that if you do the same thing that we've done before, where you've got that micro suite thing happening, and somebody rents out the micro suite, they take in an elder, they put it on Airbnb, whatever, and you get 15, 20, or 30% of those revenues in addition to what you're paying or what you're already getting from the base rent. So let's just take in as an example. On the ground floor unit, somebody decides to take in an elder. Maybe he or she has their personal support worker certificate, and they take in an elder and they charge the elder $2,000 a month to rent the micro suite on the ground floor. And you get, say, 15% of that. So that's another $300 for you. And on the second floor of the Gigaplex Duo, you do the same thing, but that one, maybe that micro suite is just another roommate, and the roommate pays, say, $900, and you get, say, 20% of that. I'm just making up the numbers. You get another $180. So if you when you start to factor in the Gigaplex thing, maybe you get an extra $500 a month, which is an extra $6,000 a year. That's how you can get from a 6% cap rate to a 7% cap rate. And then, and it goes on from there. So you will have tremendous, tremendous flexibility. And this Gigaplex idea can work even for the workshop, right? Because what we do with the workshops, many of them, if they're 700 or 800 square feet, which is pretty big, is we put a man door and an overhead door on this side, and a man door and an overhead door on this side, so that somebody could have a 400 square foot workshop and somebody else could have a 400 square foot workshop. So, or they can just have one 700 or 800 square foot workshop. But as you know, when you rent the smaller units, you can get a higher rent. So when you do the workshop, you put an overhead door and a man door on either end, and you're good to go. You can just put a divider down the middle, or somebody needs 300 square feet, somebody else needs 500 square feet. Yeah, it's easy to do. And you will have a project unlike any other in Rockland for sure. And with all this flexibility, the other thing about this is it animates the whole town. Imagine if you have people living there and working there, and they've got the micro suite thing going on. It is a pretty dynamic community.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's right on, like, Laurier Street is the main drag there too.
It's the main drag. I really like this project. Okay, so did you want to show me another one, or is this the one you want to focus on today?
No, that was what I wanted to focus on today.
So how far away are you from Laurier there to like to stores? I'm going to show you, share the screen again. Here's Laurier. Where is this? The Boston Pizza down here somewhere? Where's the Boston Pizza?
Yes. Yeah. So down, yeah, to your left there. Yeah.
Here's the Tim Hortons, right?
Yeah.
McDonald's.
So like any true old fashioned town. You've got the left side that's been mostly developed with new development, and then the right side you're pushing on very older development. That's more of the French side of the community. It's a bit more run down. So where this lot is, it's sort of right on the line there, which is also kind of good. You know, talking about build on the line, that's sort of that idea, but you'd have to build a lot more. But anyway, that's sort of where it's situated. There's very little to the right of that.
Yeah, there's a chip wagon. Yeah, and I think it's a fantastic project. I really like it. I'm really impressed. Okay, so are you? Who's going to work with you on this? You've got the builder, Aaron. Do you have an investor who's going to work with you on this?
No, I should have enough money with myself.
Yep.
And it's a project that I'd be doing with Blair Capital, that company with the two other partners.
Oh yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so let's look at your agenda. What did you want to do next?
You had asked to talk about move slow to move fast, but I have other things I can talk about, but they aren't pressing. That deal is the pressing thing. The other things can wait. Like I want to talk about the your tech packages and the development manager program.
I saw that on the agenda. On the tech packages thing, we had Abe DeHaby on the ROI group. Were you on that?
Yes, I had to drop out at that, but I have the recording, so I am going to watch that.
Yeah, so I think watch that first.
Okay.
Abe goes into some detail, and Abe DeHaby is a techie, not a salesman. So I have to. It's like pulling teeth to get things out of him, but he's a wonderful, wonderful guy, and he's doing a really good job for us with the tech packages, and thank goodness he runs that for us. But so watch that, and then we can deal with it. Are you starting on that course at all, the Ninja course?
I haven't gotten any info about it.
Oh, that's my fault. Okay, so while I've got you on the call, is it okay if I introduce you to Chris Jalcozy?
Oh, absolutely. Do you think I should contact him about this once we?
Well, once you have it, first of all, he's a really fine person, but yes, he's the guy that you're going to need to, to talk to get, like, these architectural technologists are different from architects. Architects tend to they fly over the earth at 3,000 feet, and they rarely touch down. The architectural technologists, I use a few of them, Dustin Poole, Chris Jalcozy, Leo, and
so could he do the architectural drawings for this project?
Oh yeah, they know how to do this stuff inside out. They can't do a 50,000 square foot building. Architectural technologists are limited in scope and size, but certainly, duplexes, triplexes, that sort of thing, and they do it all the live long day. They charge about a third less than the architects, sometimes a half. With Dustin Poole, who's a young architectural technologist, when I hire him to do things, we always argue. I think he's charging too little. I say I'm going to pay more, and it's just ridiculous how little he charges. And he's a wonderful designer. Chris, though, he knows how to properly price things out. He's not young anymore, but Chris is the right guy to do these complicated projects. He sees things. Chris Jalcozy sees things in 3 dimensions. He does. He doesn't look at plants as a 2-dimensional thing, and he does things. I mean, he's got some other designs I haven't shown you that are so amazing. I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek, but Mr. Spock used to play 3-dimensional chess.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of a brain. He's a brainiac. So I'm going to do that introduction right now. So hang on a second. Intro.
And what about a zoning report? I was on the call for that part. Do you think a zoning report from your colleague there would be good in this case?
Yeah, well, in fact, they have an East End office, so they're very familiar with that area, Rockland and other parts of this area. So Steve Shepard, have you ever, did I introduce you to Steve?
No.
I'm going to do that as well. Steve is, you saw him on the call, he's early 40s, he runs his own firm. I just can't say enough about these people. I mean, you know, to have people around you that work hard, that respond to you, and that you can trust to have your best interests at heart, that they'll never do anything to undercut you. Boy, that makes your life so much better. And it took me a long time to surround myself with people like Chris Delcozy, Dustin Poole. I keep thinking Leo DiCaprio, but it's not, it's Leo. And Steve Shepard and many, many others. These are really good people that you can have, that you can trust. And it'll just, you know, you're going to get, you're already successful, but you're going to get where you want to go. The key thing is, I think I can help you get there 10 years faster. So you'll get there anyway, but 10 years is a long time in a life, you know.
Yeah.
You don't get that many 10s in a life.
Yeah, I want to start spending time in Florida.
Yeah, I know that. It's a priority. And I really want you to do that homework we talked about. Okay, so I'm going to do this introduction first to Chris and then Steve. Hang on a second. Chris, please meet my friend, coaching client, Brad Cartier. You live in Rockland, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Brad lives in Rockland and is a very successful real estate investor and developer. Brad lives in Rockland. He is thinking of building a Gigaplex Duo. You won't know what that is. That's okay. You'll figure it out. You'll tell him. On a lot he is looking to buy in Rockland and needs some help from you. Be well, Bruce. Okay. So that's enough. All right. I just tell him that you're a good person, you're a trustworthy person, and you know enough about him. All right. So that's that. Next, I'm going to introduce you to Steve. And I don't want to interfere with any of your existing relationships, but you know, you heard the introduction, my introduction for Steve, and my introduction said, you know, he's the kind of guy who would reach into his own pocket when there was a deficiency in the reserve, in the trust fund, to get a deal closed, and then worry about it later. And there not many lawyers would do that. He's a deal maker as opposed to a deal breaker. And most lawyers want to prove to their clients how smart they are by picking deals apart. Shepard is not like that. He wants to get you where you want to go. So he will not spend his time trying to prove to you how smart he is, which a lot of lawyers will do.
Right.
And he will say, Brad, yes, there's an issue here. This is how we finesse it. We're going to do a little holdback. I'll take care of it. You don't have to negotiate with the realtor or the client or the seller. I'll take care of it with the other lawyer, and he does. And then closing day comes, he holds back $20,000 because there was an issue that wasn't disclosed. You didn't do a damn thing. That is really valuable.
Yep.
And again, he's another one of these guys that you know, in my opinion, doesn't charge enough. But I won't say that in this case. All right, so I'll do another intro.
Thank you for letting me tap into your team.
No, that's part of the coaching thing. And I'm happy to do it because, you know, it helps Steve too. You know, like he's a young man and he's still building his practice. So I like to help people that, you know, Steve has helped me. Amazing. All right, so Steve, please meet Brad. And he's a good family man too.
Okay.
Which is important to me. And I'm gonna, so I don't have to do too much typing.
I discovered the joy of shortcut keys.
Oh yeah. Oh. And you now know how to measure distances on the earth using Google Maps.
That's great.
Please meet Brad, who lives in Rockland with his spouse and 4 little kids, right?
Yep.
Period. He is a very successful real estate investor and developer. Is thinking of building a Gigaplex Duo on a lot he's looking to buy in Rockland and may need some help from you. Some help from you. By the way, Brad saw you in the ROI group presentation. All right, so that's that.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so we got that done. Okay, and
of
you will
course.
you'll put on the agenda for next time the tech package, all right? Because you know, look, we put in now over 350 of these things. I lost track. It's over 350, and it has been, especially in the COVID-19 thing, it's been a game changer and a lifesaver. You know, there are a lot of clients now who are making a living because they have really good technology in their homes, and Abe DeHaby is a big part of that for me. Okay, so I wanted to show you the course. It's the Firestone Institute. Firestone Institute, just me. It's a one-man institute.
Development manager course?
So I'll show you what it is. Just give me a second here. Okay, see if I can find it. If I show you how long it is, you probably never do it. So I'll cheat. All right, so here it is. So it's part of your coaching. It doesn't cost you anything, and you should do it. I mean, you're a super, super talented guy. You'll have no problem with it. It's kind of a 3rd and 4th year university level course. It's called the Firestone Institute. It's a terrible name. Ninja Real Estate Investment Co-Coaching and Development Manager course that will coincidentally turn you into a top talent in this field. Here's part of the course to get you started. So I'm going to send you this in a minute. It prepares you for 4 things. You can, if you want to, there's an exam at the end of this. I think I told you that, right?
Yep.
You have to get 75% or better to pass, but you'd have no problem, I'm sure. But then you actually get a little diploma from me, and it's probably worth something. It'll be worth something to investors, partners, builders, bankers, lenders, mortgage brokers, you know, that you've been trained by me. That sounds kind of self-serving, but I think it's true. Yep. So you'll become a Firestone Institute Real Estate Investment and Business Co-Coach. So if you actually wanted to start coaching other people, you know, they might be people who work for you, because you know you have the potential to build a really big organization. I mean, you know, I went from a $350,000 a year first year revenue stream at Terrace Investments Limited to 120 million 9 years later. So between 1983 and 1992, went through tremendous growth. And you have that potential too if you want to do that. You'll also, second part is you'll become a ninja real estate investor. You'll be one of the best trained real estate investors in the world after you do the course. It's 6 months long, by the way. You'll have the skills to become both a developer and a development manager, but there's a lot of work as well. It should take you no more than 6 months, but there are 6 months of lectures recorded, and there's some assignments too that you want to do. You do it at your own speed, though. But what I ask people to do is not take longer than a year. A year's too long. Longer than a year is too long. All right. Okay. And some of the people who've taken it, I think I've had now 15 people do it. Some of them have actually become added coaching to their repertoire, and some of them are actually having a lot of success. Many of them, all of them, in fact, are younger than me, and some of them are taking on, you know, as many as 20 clients a month to help them with coaching, so they can build their own real estate portfolios, and so they can make some additional dollars doing that. I'll send you all of this. And there seems to be an endless demand for people who are interested in real estate today, and owning a personal business for life. I mean, it was really strong before, but during this COVID-19 thing, it just is exploding. If there were 10 of me, I think that all 10 of them would be pretty busy. Now, so I'll send you the first 3 webinars. They're all recorded. And the webinars repeat a little bit because they were promotional webinars, but they're all a little bit different. And then there's the first three, yeah, the first 3 lectures, but it's only 3. There's like 27 of them. So I'll just get you started if that's okay.
Okay.
And I think you'll really enjoy it, although it is a lot of work.
I'm looking forward to it.
I think you'll really enjoy it. It is really fantastic. But it's, I mean, you can see everywhere you see a URL, that's another hour and a half of work for you.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. All right, that's enough. Okay, so I'll send that to you now. And let's get going. I mean, you know, but take your time. You know, it's you can take up to a year.
Sounds good.
So I'll just call it Ninja. All right. Okay, so and you have my little package on what it's like, what it means to be a development manager, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you know, I think I sent that to you, and you know, the most important stuff I think is this: when you're doing a development project, most people, because they just don't know any different, say, well, gee, I'm buying a piece of land, who are you going to call? Like Ghostbusters. And most people will tell them, well, the first thing you ought to do is call a planner so you know what you could do with that lot. So you call up an urban planner, and the urban planner says, well, let me go and check the city zoning codes, which are, you know, 3,000 pages long.
Yeah.
In Ottawa, it's probably more like 10,000 pages. I'm not kidding. But in Rockland, it's probably 3,000 pages of stuff, if you were to actually print it out, God forbid. And so what you're going to end up with is development that looks like this. So not very inspiring streetscape. Would you agree?
Agreed.
And that's what modern urban planning rules do. Have you ever driven down Maryville Road in Ottawa?
Yes.
What do you think?
Not very pleasant.
So you and your 4 little kids and your wife should go for a Sunday stroll every Sunday from now until the fall on Maryville Road. Cars and buses and trucks are going past you at 80, 90, 100 kilometers an hour. The wind is blowing. There's no such thing as a streetscape. There's no such thing as a public room. It all looks like this. In fact, it's even worse. All right. So then you say, well, I'm not really happy, because what the urban planner does is he just tells you what's in the zoning code and that's it. Well, what's the use of that? Or you can call an architect and the architect says, well, I guess we got to check the zoning code. And you're back to the same thing. And in some ways, it's worse. You know, I taught architecture for 14 years at Carleton, at the School of Architecture there. And I kept saying to the architects, you guys have given up on urban design. You just are order takers. You know, you're not only just following these stupid zoning codes, which are producing really terrible cities. You know, if you're building a building today, Brad, urban planners and politicians and local municipalities and councillors and mayors are not only telling you what you can and cannot build on that property without any regard to the quality of the development, they're even telling you where the ingress and egress is, how tall the building is, what the materiality is going to be. I can't believe it. Sometimes you'll get the mayor of Ottawa saying, oh, well, Brad Cartier wants to build, you know, with stone and we prefer brick. What the hell, mayor? You don't know anything about design and beauty and highest and best use and utility and functionality, art. You're the mayor. Just stick to being the mayor. Don't pretend you're an art critic. You're not, with all due respect. So first of all, you don't want an urban planner. You want somebody who's done the Ninja program with Firestone, and he knows what highest and best use is, and he knows that he can he can do, let's see if I got some other, oh, I thought I had it here. Here's Maryville Road. I mean, you know, really? So this is what modern planning rules will produce. This is considered a planting buffer, a 6-meter planting buffer. The only thing that grows in these 6-meter planting buffers are weeds. And the only kind of animals that you'll have and biodiversity you have there is you'll have weasels and you'll have rodents. Like, this is terrible. This is terrible. And then you have a parking lot. Imagine walking there in January. This is Richmond Road. Richmond Road is supposed to be one of Ottawa's high-end streets, right? This is what it looks like. And this is Paris. So this is what you will learn how to do. You'll be able to produce spaces and places, it's called placemaking, that will produce tremendous returns for you as an investor, but will also really enhance the city and the town for everybody, for passersby, for people who live there. I mean, where would you rather live? Here in Ottawa on Richmond Road, one of our best streets, so-called, or here in Paris? That was a skill testing question.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
And do you know what a Woonerf Road is?
No.
Woonerf is a Dutch term meaning a living street. And this is a living street here. And you notice how it's not conducive, like Maryville Road is conducive to trucks and buses going 80, 90 kilometers an hour. Just your beautiful little children are standing here, and these huge trucks are going by, and the buses like that at 90. If they make a mistake, I mean, that's the end.
No bueno.
It's adios, all your beautiful babies. So what the Dutch do now is they're building their streets as Woonerf streets, like this. So cars are allowed, but cars are guests. So when you're driving your car down the street that looks like this, is narrow, you're the guest, and so you're going down the street at maximum 12 to 15 kilometers an hour. So cars are still allowed. That's nothing wrong with that. So what you're going to hear from urban planners and what you're going to hear from municipalities and townships, from mayors and councillors, and you're going to hear this from traffic engineers. Oh, no, we can't do that in Canada because we have snow. Have you ever been to Quebec City?
Yep.
This is Quebec City.
Yeah.
And they say, well, we can't handle snow if we have these tiny streets. Well, Quebec City does. You don't have to go to Europe to find Woonerf streets. You can find them in Quebec City. And if you were to go to Quebec City and say, oh, look, I'm a traffic engineer, we need to knock down all these old buildings in Quebec City to widen the roads so that we can move cars and trucks and buses and snow at 80, 90, 100 kilometers an hour, you would end up being lynched by the locals, right?
Yep.
So what the course will teach you, Brad, is to question what we're doing. We built better cities and towns in the 1880s and 1890s than we do today. Much better. That's Quebec City. So where would you rather live? I'm giving you the skill testing question again. On Maryville Road, because there's lots of buildings here where you could live. Or would you like to live with your family in Quebec City?
100% Quebec City.
110% Quebec City. I spent the summers in Quebec City learning French. Didn't do me much good. I just spent the time I was young. I was 15, 16.
I used to live there.
I spent my time in Quebec City chasing girls. That was the only thing I was interested in doing. I was 15. But you lived in Quebec City?
Yeah, I was in the Navy, so every summer I would go there. I was a teenager in Quebec City, so it was awful.
Yeah. So this is a whole a lecture that I could give you on what it's like to be a development manager. And if you want that, we will spend an entire session, we'll record it too, because I've never recorded it, on what's it like to be a development manager. But we should do that when you're a little bit further along in the course.
Okay.
So if you could put it in your notes to, maybe to come back on that, because I'm really excited about equipping you to not just to do a project in Rockland, but to build some, I don't want to call it a real estate empire, that sounds too pretentious, but to build a real estate company that is producing the highest and best use and the greatest utility for the greatest number course, you as the owner and the developer and the investor, but also for your tenants. And if you do the course and you stay the course, so to speak, you have the potential to understand and implement all of this, and you're young enough to, 35. But you don't strike me as a typical 35-year-old. All
Well,
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
One other thing I wanted to show you, and I'm only going to keep you for another 5 or 10 minutes. I'm a bit tired today. I don't know why, but I am. So I wanted to show you, when we're talking about finance, one of the things that could help you on the Rockland project, which would bridge this price gap between you and him, because there's going to be a price gap. You for the law, you might want to pay 100,000, and for the building 300,000, 400 grand. He's going to want 550 or 600. That's my guess.
Yep.
So there's quite a big gap there. Something that would really help you bridge that gap would be a seller take back mortgage. So
Okay.
let's say he says, Brad, I'm determined. I want 400 grand for that duplex. It's worth it. It's beautiful. Even though the income is terrible, it's still worth it. To him, it will seem worth it because he spent the money.
Yeah.
But to you, as an investor, income is more important than beauty. Although I want both. I want you to get both. So what could happen here is you could say, okay, look, what I'll do is I'll pay $375 for this, which is way more than I should pay. And I'm going to pay 100,000 for that lot, which is still probably more than I should pay. So I'm going to pay you, $475 or $500,000 for something that probably on an income basis is worth a lot less. But what I want you to do is I want you to give me a 95% seller take back mortgage on the lot for 3 years.
But that's assuming he owns the lot out, or he owns everything outright.
Well, I don't know, but I'm assuming he does.
Okay.
But maybe he doesn't. Maybe he has a mortgage on the duplex, but the lot might be mortgage free.
Okay.
Let's hope it is. So you say, look, I'll pay you 350, 400,000 or whatever it is for the damn duplex. But I want 100,000. I want a $95,000 seller take back on that for 3 years, and I want that to be postponable to bona fide construction advances. Do you understand that?
No.
Okay. All right. We're not finished.
Okay.
So when I was a developer and a nice young man like you came along and said, Bruce, I'd like to buy a lot from you. I wouldn't have sold you one lot. We were developers, so I would sell you, 10 lots or 15 lots at a time. Sometimes I'd sell 200 at a time. I sold the very, very first lots that Bill Malhotra from Claridge developed in Ottawa. He bought them from me, 78 lots.
Wow.
And he bought them from me. This is a long time ago. So if you came to me though and you said, look, Bruce, you own this lot in Rockland. I'd like to buy it. I would have given you the lot with 5 or 10% down and a seller take back mortgage. You know what a seller take back mortgage is, right?
Yes.
So typically I would have given you that seller take back mortgage for 2 years, maybe 3, probably 2, but ask for 3. I would agree to postpone it to bona fide construction advances. So it means the day you close with, do you know the seller's first name?
No.
I'll call him Jacques, okay? He's probably a French guy.
Probably.
And so Jacques will give you $95,000 finance. So you only have to come up with $5,000 to buy the land, because it's hard to finance land at a bank.
Yeah.
They don't like selling it. They don't like financing it. They'll finance the duplex, hopefully at 75%. But the lot might be more difficult. So he should supply you with that financing, and he has a mortgage. It's a first mortgage. But when you're ready to construct and you've got Aaron ready to go and you got your building permit, everything's cool, you will have construction financing. You understand that, right?
Yes.
And when they give you their first advance, they will insist on being in first position. They don't want to be in second position, right? There are no construction lenders that I know who will go in second position, none.
Will it be
So
hard to get construction lending if there's already a loan on the property?
exactly, that's why you have to have in the agreement of purchase and sale, and I'll help you with that. I mean, I'm your coach. You have to have in it that he agrees to postpone to those advances.
Okay.
So what it means is the way you tell which is a first mortgage and a second mortgage is the actual charge on the land doesn't say this is a first mortgage and this is a second mortgage. It is done on a timestamp.
Okay.
So if I lend you $100,000 on a piece of land and my mortgage is registered at 4:52 p.m. and somebody else lends you another $100,000 on the same piece of land and it's registered at 5 p.m., that's the second and mine is the first.
Got it.
So when you close on the property, because his timestamp is whatever the closing date is, he will be in first position automatically. So he has to agree to allow your lawyer, maybe Steve Shepard, if you decide to use him, he has to agree that he will agree, because you can't, otherwise you can't do it, to allow the construction lender to put his or her, their mortgage in first position and his in second position. So they actually take the mortgage off, the second mortgage off, they register the advance, and then they put it back on. So the timestamps are now different. They've switched. If he doesn't agree to that, then you have to pay him out. Okay? So
Okay.
it means that you need to find an extra $95,000 when you're getting going on construction. And that's the worst time to find an extra $95,000. Because if you had an extra $95,000 in your couch, you want to keep that in case something goes wrong. You don't want to give it to him.
Right.
So you're going to give him the $95,000 that he's owed on the earlier of the 3-year maturity date on the mortgage or a takeout mortgage. So once you're finished construction, and you'll probably end up with 3 or 4 construction advances. You're following me?
Yep.
So first draw will be sort of footing and foundation, backfill and excavation and backfill. So your footing and foundation, excavation and backfill is there. You've got your sewer connection and water connection and storm connection already there. So that's the first draw. Your second draw will be when the envelope is the framing and the roof is on and the windows and doors are there, so it's self-contained. Your third draw will probably be when you're almost finished. Your drywall's there, flooring is there, almost everything is done, and then the only thing that will be left will be a 10% holdback. You understand the 10% holdback?
No.
So in construction, you are permitted to hold back 10% of every contract to ensure that contractors will come back and finish, right? Because contractors are famous for not quite finishing stuff.
Got it.
So what's the bathroom look like when it's 3/4 a tile? It's got to be finished. So the 10% holdback is your holdback to ensure completion, and you're allowed to hold that for 45 days. And the contractors want to get paid. They need to get paid. They need money as well, and they have lien rights that also expire after 45 days. So the contractors will want to finish and get paid, because if they're not paid within that 45 days, they have to lien on the 45th or 44th day. You know what a lien is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise they will get shortchanged, right? So you'll probably end up with 3 or 4 draws, and each draw will be added to the first mortgage position, and that guy's $95,000 keeps getting backed up, if you sort of see what I'm getting at. But
Yep.
then the building is finished, you've got your occupancy permit, you put some good tenants in there, you've done all this really cool stuff, and your income is really good. Life is better now that it's all finished and your building is working properly. You go out and you get a permanent mortgage to take out both the first and the second. So maybe this thing is, you've built it for $600,000. Maybe you can get it appraised for $700,000.
Hmm.
hopefully. You get a nice juicy first mortgage at a much lower rate because your construction finance is going to be expensive, 10%, but your takeout money could be, 2, 3, or 4%.
Yeah.
So when you put the new first mortgage in place, that's when it gets paid out. Hopefully that is 18 months from now. But
Got it.
if you screw up, it could be 3 years from now. So that's why I want you to get a 3-year seller take back if you can. You probably won't agree to that, but you might agree to 2.
Okay.
If 2, it'll be, it could be cutting it a little close, but 3, you'll be fine. If it takes you longer than 3 years to build this, then I have failed and you have failed. That is a fail.
And is the
So,
payout like a balloon payment, or are we just making interest payments on a VTB?
so on a $95,000 seller take back mortgage like this, I would make it 3.5%, maybe 4% interest paid monthly, interest only.
Hmm.
It just while you're under construction, you need to save your cash. Normally, I hate interest only mortgages. How long does it take to pay off an interest only mortgage?
Forever.
Forever. So it's a terrible idea. But while you're under construction, it's interest only. But as soon as you have, when you look at your cash flow, remember amortization is your friend, right?
Hmm.
And when you look at your amortization, if you could get it to 17 or 18 years rather than 30 years, that's way better, right? It's your best friend. I told you that some of my clients have 11-year amortization periods, right? Because they've
Yep.
got fabulous cash flow. I've got a couple of mine on 3-year amortizations because I'm old. I got to get rid of this stuff, right? So I've got some mortgages, I got to pay them out, and I've got the cash flow to do that, right? So short amortization period, as long as you're not having to reach into your pocket every month. So we'll at the right time we'll calculate what that is.
Okay.
Right? But hopefully it's 17 or 18 years, not 25 or 30 years. That's just way too long. Because if to be a successful real estate investor, even back, when I was building the Canadian Tire Center, I mean, I was very aggressive on amortization. Even then, we had a 20-year amortization on a $485 million building. So we were cranking the amortization. Unfortunately, what happened to us, the reason the team went bankrupt, at least one of the reasons, was the Canadian dollar fell out of bed. Went
Oh
from
yeah.
90 cents to 62 cents. And the NHL and the NHLPA decided, the brilliant minds, to price all NHL contracts in US dollars.
Yep.
So our payroll went from 6.5 million to 84 million. And it just became unsustainable, unfortunately. Changed my life, obviously. But amortization, if you think about it, had things been a little bit different, we would have had a building paid off almost 8 or 9 years ago because of the aggressive amortization that we undertook, but we never got there. So is that helpful, Brad?
That's extremely helpful. So I will keep you in the loop once I have more details on numbers.
Yeah.
And
And when you're preparing the offer, I mean, I'm not sure how much Queasy. I've heard the name, by the way, Queasy, before, and not entirely in a good light. So but whatever. Just be careful, okay? So
yep.
he may not understand all of this stuff.
Yeah.
The seller take back and how to put the postponable to bona fide construction. The reason it's bona fide construction advances is you don't want to, as a seller, you don't want your mortgage to be postponed to bullshit financing, because if there's no building there and there's $400,000 of mortgage money in front of you, your lot has now a negative value.
Yeah.
So it's not so you can take that $400,000 and run to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
To build the building.
Yeah.
All right, so that protects him, which is fair. So you're going to have to do a little bit of educating for yourself, obviously, which we've done today. But also, if you're using Quasi, he may not know this stuff. All right.
Yep. Sounds
But I
great.
do, and I have all the clauses. All right.
Awesome. I love it.
I'm going to stop the recording now, and it will download to